keep it rolling here, guys, to the NFL. The Bengals and Trey Hendrickson have yet to reach an agreement with just 2 weeks till week 1 of the NFL season. Hendrickson told our very own Laura Rutledge he and the Bengals are close on an annual salary and length of terms. However, it's the team's unwillingness to give him guaranteed money. We know that's what matters in football. That's the hang-up. So yesterday, RC felt strongly about the Bengals wasting Joe Burrow's star talent. Let's flash back.
Are we concerned that they are wasting this stage of Joe Burrow's career?
Absolutely. I mean, if you watched that game last night and you think about, especially early on last season, we've watched people run for more miles against the Cincinnati Bengals than David Goggins. If you're Joe Burrow, the reason that you're out here in the preseason is because you know you have to score 40. The reason that you're trying to do different things while you're trying to get reps with second-team wide receivers is because you know you're going to need them at some point in the season in order to make plays to help a defense that's going to be absolutely putrid. And when you watch this in the preseason, you have to be sick to your stomach because you know there's going to be some games where you sit in the post-game press conference that you scored 35, 38, maybe 41, and you still catch an L.
Do you agree with RC?
I understand what he's saying. I think RC hit it. Their defense is terrible, but I don't think Hendrickson would make that big a deal with their defense one way or the other. They got a bad defensive team. So they are an offensive team. They have to score 40 a game. They got the 2 great receivers. He's a great quarterback. They seem like they're committed not to get off to these terrible September starts because he's played Burrow a lot in preseason. Last year, in week 1, they lost to Brissett and the Patriots, if you remember correctly, in the first game of the year. So do I think that Cincinnati is a championship-level team? No, I don't, because of what RC says with their defense. But I do think they have a good chance to make the playoffs. They were 9-8 last year, and they had a chance in Week 18. They beat Pittsburgh, and everybody else won the next day. They got knocked out. They should be able to figure out a way to win 10 games, and 10 games will get them into the postseason. And then Burrow and Chase and, of course, Higgins would have a chance against anybody in a shootout type of game in a postseason spot.
Lewis, why are you shaking your head?
They're not figuring out a way to win 10 games, no. You know, because this ain't 2024. Think about the teams that have made some significant strides and improvements for 2025, okay? Think about that. The Raiders have made significant improvements. I trust the Raiders right now to find a way to sneak into the playoffs before I would trust the Bengals. Think about the Patriots. Think about the Patriots and what they have done, and not just the people that they brought into the organization in the locker room, the people on the coaching staff. They have an all-star coaching staff that will get that team to play far above and beyond what our expectations are right now. Look, Cincy, it isn't just a defensive issue with Cincy. You know this, too, since Joe's been there, right? Since Joe's been there, they've been in the bottom quarter in the league in pass block win rate every single year. And people go, well, he's been able to manage it. Look at the season he had last year. You're playing with fire with the way in which this guy has to be perfect every single week when he has turnstiles for an offensive line. And while everyone else in the AFC is gaining ground, his team is losing ground. He's keeping his. He kept his dudes. But as far as the supporting cast is concerned, every other football team's getting better. They just are. The West has gotten better. The East has gotten better. The AFC North, hey, let's just see what happens here with Pittsburgh, okay? You know defensively they're going to be better. And if Aaron is on it, like RC and Jalen Ramsey and people are saying how he's looked in training camp, hey, man. And we know Baltimore. We know what Baltimore brings. I think this football team, I really think this football team could be in trouble again. And you're right. You're right. Look, Trey Hendrickson does not make them a Super Bowl contender, does not make them a playoff contender by himself alone. There are far more foundational issues with this football team.
Stephen A.?
Well, let's directly answer the question here. Are they wasting Joe Burrow's prime? You're damn right they are. In 2021, when they went to the Super Bowl, they were a middle-of-the-road defense. They were like 17th in scoring, 18th in yards allowed. Let's look at them now. I mean, when you look at them now, they're putrid, to say the least. They're like the 26th ranked scoring defense, 31st in total defense since 20. I mean, when you just look at them right now over the last 2 seasons, it's abysmal. And in the meantime, since 2021, these are the numbers on Joe Burrow. Completion percentage, #1 in the league. Pass yards per game, #1 in the league. Touchdown passes, 3rd behind Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Passer rating, 2nd only to Brock Purdy. And postseason wins with 5, tied for 3rd behind Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. That's it. This is what Joe Burrow has done. Yet they've missed the playoffs 2 of the last 2 years. Why? Because both were 9-8 records. Their defense ranked 26th in the league in scoring, 31st in total defense. Clearly, that is the issue with them. And when you know this, and still you've done close to nothing to improve the defense, to improve giving him just a chance to get this team over the hump. I think that's what's egregious. At the very least, think about what we're asking. He took you to a Super Bowl with a middle-of-the-road defense. Nobody's even asking you to be elite. Could you just be average? Could you be a little bit below average, like a 16th or a 17th or an 18th in the league, as opposed to 31st? They can't even do that. That's how bad it is. That's why you know the answer to this question is they are wasting away Joe Burrow's prime.
RC,
They're absolutely wasting him, but it's partly Joe Burrow's fault as well. Joe Burrow earned the right to say what he wants to have on this team, and he wanted both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Well, when you pay T. Higgins like a 1B, it's going to be difficult to go get players that can right now affect the way you play on defense. So what do they have to do? They have to go draft young players, which they did in this draft, that have to hit early. The reason the Philadelphia Eagles are a playoff team, are a Super Bowl champion now, is because the young players hit. Jalen Carter hit, right? We start Cooper DeJean hit, Quinyon Mitchell hit. And so now a team that does have a 1A and a 1B receiver, that has a quarterback that they've paid, that can go out and get Saquon Barkley and score points, can also get stops. Look at the top tier quarterbacks in the AFC, which we believe they have the top 4 in all of football. Patrick Mahomes is in a tier by himself. Don't put him on a tier with anybody else. Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals like that. And you can make the argument that after Patrick Mahomes, he's actually the best one because he's the only one that's been the quarterback of a team that's beat him in the most important moment.
Right, but what we also have to be careful of is the fact that we can't just talk about Joe Burrow when we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk about Zach Taylor and his coaching staff. Over, the first 2 games of each season in his 6 years there, they're 1-11. They don't show up to play until mid-September and beyond. That's egregious. What the hell are you doing? That's why I call for an investigation into what the hell they're doing in the offseason, because clearly it ain't their job. They're never ready to play at the start of an NFL season. That might have something to do with their absence of success. We can't ignore that. And so when I'm looking at Joe Burrow making sure that you get your 2 receivers paid, and I get that part, RC, my whole point is this. These are the Bengals. And look at the bevy of errors that they've made over the years. There's no telling if they didn't pay T. Higgins what they were going to do with that money. They still might be having a problem with Hendrickson, along with anybody else. And we don't know what the hell they're doing, and that's the problem.
Finish the season with Arizona and Pittsburgh at home, play at Miami, open with the Browns. They remember, they didn't make the playoffs last year, so they got a little easier schedule. He's played people. Those receivers are wonderful. I think they can win 10 games.
Right.
If it were November and they had Miami and Cincinnati, that would be an automatic win because we know that Miami doesn't show up with 50 degrees or below weather.
That's true, too. I think the game is in Miami, but I think you're right.
Official starter moving forward as head coach Shane Steichen stated he's not planning for this to be a short-term arrangement for Jones. Yesterday, former starter Anthony Richardson gave his reaction to the news of him losing his starter status. Let's take a listen, y'all.
You just got to respect the decision. They feel like he's a better fit for the team, better fit for the outcome of us winning. So you just got to respect it and just keep working. That doesn't undermine any other work I've been putting in. It doesn't say that I haven't improved.
I think I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. You look around the league and see just like the consistency of having Patrick Mahomes or a quarterback behind you that's been the franchise player for years and years and years.
Lewis, what do you make of what Quenton Nelson had to say?
He's trying to say it politically correct. He's not trying to ruffle feathers and have there be a big controversy surrounding this situation, being that he's one of the best players on this football team. And he's trying to kind of take the middle road and say, hey, look, we just want to have some consistency. We don't really care where it comes from. And there's some truth to that. But you know that players always have an opinion about who they want to see on the football field, especially when it comes to quarterback. That being said, look, this to me is a stunning, well, not really stunning, but this is a massive, titanic decision on the part of Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard, the general manager, and ownership, to take your 4th overall pick from 3 years ago and basically say, you're done. Because what Shane said in reference to that was the fact that he said, look, I don't want to have a short leash here with Daniel Jones. He is the starter for this season, barring something unforeseen happening, which to me means unless Daniel can't go out there because of injury or he plays this horrifically bad, Anthony's not getting another shot at this. His time at the Indianapolis Colts with this regime is done. And Anthony has to accept some responsibility for this, because really what this comes down to trust. That's what it comes down to. It isn't about upside anymore. And as RC, I know, is going to probably touch on this, this is about what the floor is. Yep. And they feel like the floor is lower for Anthony than it is for Daniel Jones. And that, to me, look, when you start talking about those kinds of things, it really tells you that people are pretty much thrown in the towel on you. And I hate to see that for someone who they invested so much in terms of draft capital.
Right. The thing for me is he clearly lost all support in the building. Yep. Right? In order to be drafted number 4 overall, when you only have 13 starts, when you don't have some of the statistics we see from the C.J. Strouds and the Bryce Youngs and the Jaden Daniels, it's somebody had to stand on the table and say, we believe that this guy can become a franchise guy. And if I'm Shane Steichen, if I'm Chris Ballard, I believe that we have the developmental people inside the building, the structure to get him there. Mm-hmm. So that means you gave up on that at some point. And it wasn't the fact that he can't throw it as far. It's not the fact that he can't run as fast, because he can still do all of those things. So it's something intangible that you saw that you don't feel like he can improve in the way you want him to improve. And the decision you're making is this. We know who Daniel Jones is. Daniel Jones is not going to be a star. Daniel Jones is not going to be an all-pro player. Daniel Jones is not going to be that dude that Quenton Nelson is asking for that they lost when Andrew Luck retired. But what you're saying is, at least I know what he's going to be. Yeah. At least I know I can strategize this way. I can scheme this way, and he can do that. But to me, that's running away from coaching. And what has Anthony Richardson done to push these people away from coaching? Because you see that he has the upside, he has the ceiling, so there's something about him that tells you that he can't reach it there. They are done with Anthony Richardson. They will not play him, and that's why they said this ain't short term. He's lost it forever.
Stephen A.
When you come into the season as a quarterback who was drafted 4th overall just a couple of years ago, fighting for a starting job, and your opponent is Daniel Jones, and it's still legitimized as a quarterback competition, and you combine that with the biggest raving about you is the fact that you changed your diet and that you're reading the playbook more, you're in a world of trouble. We're talking facts here, guys. That's what the hell happened. A quarterback that was drafted 4th overall in his 3rd year in the league, that clearly has had his troubles with availability and ability when he's been available, okay, was being raved about because he changed his diet and he was reading the playbook more. Now, this is a guy that's only 3 days older than Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick for the Tennessee Titans. He's only 3 days older than him. This is a guy that is younger than Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. And we're still looking at him and we're saying it's over in Indy. That's a bigger issue, guys. That's not just about potential or lack thereof. That's questioning his football character. Something ain't there, whether it's his work ethic, whether it's commitment to excellence, whether if it's off-season work. I don't know what it is. I'm speculating. I have no clue. RC, you've been traveling all over the damn place. I'm sure you know. I don't know. I'm not pretending to know. I'm simply saying, if we're asking those kind of questions, if that kind of skepticism is associated with this quarterback, they're saying we don't believe in him. And that's horrible to hear of a guy that's only 23 years of age. You know how bad you got to be 23 with that athleticism, and they're basically giving up on you? You know how bad you have to be for that to happen? Floor is yours, Doggy.
Well,
do you feel like they're failing him? The Colts are failing Anthony Richardson?
I think Ballard took a big reach when they drafted him 4th a few years ago. They needed a quarterback. They obviously had a lot of, Peyton quit and Luck retired. Peyton quit. He was injured. He went to Denver.
Abruptly.
Luck retired. I mean, they had been looking for a QB for a long time. Steichen had done a great job with Hurts. So they figured they'd get a guy like Richardson, who a running quarterback, came out of the, laying the weeds, only made 13 starts at Florida, so they took a reach. They took a chance. I don't blame the franchise for taking a chance. They made him the 4th pick in the draft. It's his 3rd year. Steichen has to win. Jones, say what you want, won a playoff game in Minnesota where he played great in the game, him and Barkley when they beat the Vikings.
Yep.
So he has shown you in a certain spot that he can be a factor in a big playoff game, and Richardson hasn't. So they decided to move, cut bait.
It is.
And that's his football. He took himself out of a game. He was very erratic. They decided to go in a different direction.
Yeah, there is a tidal wave of things that leads the front office and organization to making this kind of decision. And it always does come down to football character in these kinds of situations. You don't give up on guys with this kind of talent unless there are things that you just truly believe will not allow him to ever reach what his ultimate potential is. That's why you drafted him in the first place. You drafted him because you thought, okay, we have the structure and we think he has enough of the football character to take this natural-born ability of his and have it parlayed into him being an all-pro type of quarterback. And they missed. And it's going to be a big problem because people are going to lose their jobs over this. Because you're right, they're not going to win because of Daniel Jones. Yeah. They're not going to win because of him. They may feel as though that they may not lose because of him, but they're not going to win because of him. And their upside is going to be capped with him. I do believe that. And people are going to lose jobs over this.
But I think that's what Shane Steichen is saying, right? Like, let me get to next season. That Anthony Richardson is not our guy. Whether Anthony Richardson can't learn it, whether Anthony Richardson refuses to learn it, whether Anthony Richardson refuses to work on the mechanics that make the easy throws, whatever it is, he's doing something where they gave up on him. And when a quarterback fails, for the reasons you could have predicted that he would fail, to me, that's on the organization. Because if I know you haven't had enough starts, if I know that you're injury prone, if I know that there is a lack of work ethic or whatever it is, then it's my job to fill those spaces for you. And Shane Steichen, who worked with Justin Herbert, who worked with Jalen Hurts, they expected him to be able to do that. What he's saying right now, and Coach Tomlin talks about this all the time, what he's saying right now is they've tried everything and they are no longer running to coaching. They're pushing themselves away from it to know what they can do with Daniel Jones, who they feel stability with.
RC, I'll push back on you on this one point. You're mentioning a lot about coaching. The person to keep your eyes on is Ballard, the GM. I know that Andrew Luck abruptly retired. Nobody saw that coming. But that was in 2018. This man has had 6 years to figure this out as the GM of this team. And I'm looking at this guy, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Anthony Richardson, and now Daniel Jones. He will be the 6th different Week 1 starter for the Indianapolis Colts in the last 7 years.
It's hard to survive.
I mean, at some point in time, you are the executive.
Yep.
You got to figure this out. And it ain't like this happened last season. This was in 2018. You got to figure this out. You got to find your team a quarterback. That's Ballard.
And the thing is this, Anthony Richardson, this is on you. You know what the book is going to be on you from the Indianapolis Colts. If you didn't work hard enough, you better work harder. If you didn't show up early, you better show up early. If you didn't stay late, you better stay later. There's going to be a belief about you that you cannot get this done because of your football character and who you are, not how talented you are. And if you ever want to change that and get a job, you better work on it right now in this backup role to show them that you can be more than you were away from the field.
That moment in Houston where he tapped out of that game,
that was the end
is something he's going to battle for the rest of his career.
Yep.
He's going to have to play so far and above the image that is burned into people's minds about what he did that game. Like, here it is.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think we kind of like unanimously said this. In all of our history, we've never seen this happen before, a quarterback do that. He may do that because he's hurt, but not because he's tired. That is what he's going to be battling for the rest of his career.
We'll leave it there.